Well, it is a pleasure to
In-
meet you. I'm
Indeed,
so
likewise.
excited um, to have you on. I don't know. You ready to? Um,
I am. I'm sitting actually looking outside with the doors open so that the dogs are out on the. I have like a bridge in front of my house, so they're on the bridge of the house, and hopefully they won't bark or yell. But if they do, that's
Same.
life,
I have dogs too, so
right?
if
We talked about
anything,
that.
we can just talk about our dogs
Indeed.
because they're part of the family as well. Okay. Well, I guess we'll just get started here. Okay, so first of all, I want to welcome everybody to the Quantum Shift podcast, where we share tips and tools with wonderful speakers and authors and luminaries that can help you lead an empowering life. And today I'm very grateful to have with us Rex Sikes. And Rex, you have so much wisdom and so many fantastic tools to share with us. You have really, really done a lot for the world. And
Thank you.
you are also a very well known mind reader, I see, which is a little fun fact for our audience. But truly, what I loved the most was all of the courses you offer on your Rex site, Rex Sykes's site, as well as on your amazing Rex. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you. I do want to mention to our readers or our listeners that there are a lot of free gifts that Rex is offering today and on his website that will help you immensely. So whatever it is, wherever you're needing to go, just feel free to browse around on his website. It's under rexsykes.com or amazingrex.com. And with that, Rex, I'm going to turn this over to you and allow you to lead it forward.
Wow. Well, thank you for all the kind words, and I hope that the audience thinks as much of them as you do when I'm done speaking. But that's the decision that they will come to on their own. You mentioned the mind reading, and yes, I mean, my website's rexsykes.com. It's my name. You can see it there next to my name. And if you go there, there's a free gift. You can sign up for the newsletter. And by the way, I just did a webinar. And if people do the webinar, the webinar is absolutely free. But if they want to sign up for a program that I'm offering, I'm also giving away a vacation package. It's an incentive for people to sign up. They get four nights, 5 days, and they don't pay. The airfare is not included in the there's a $20 charge or something like that, but they pay the taxes. It's just like if you won it on a TV game show, they go taxes and airfare not included kind of thing. So
Right.
but all of those terms and conditions are there that people can see, but it's 3,000 different places in the world they can travel to, and it's usually between a
Wonderful.
5 and 6 star hotel.
That is just an incredible gift, and they're getting all
It
of the
truly, it
wisdom to
truly
go
is an
with it.
incredible gift. So if they want to get, or if anybody wants to get a, kind of, it's almost a free vacation, but it's not free.
Right.
So if it's a $600 room, they just pay the taxes on the room.
That's basically free. You're
Right.
just
I mean,
paying taxes.
well, right. You're paying the taxes and you pay to get there, but other than that, take a look at it. So if they're interested, I don't want to be discussing that now. But you mentioned
No,
regarding the mind reading. Yeah, what I have done for many years was to travel and to demonstrate what's possible when you put your mind to something, and when you think. And it's the I always use the analogy of a baseball player, a pitcher, and a catcher. If you're pitching and you pitch really well, it makes it easy for me to catch.
mhm,
Yeah.
right.
And if I throw back really well, it makes it easier for you to catch. And so when it comes to mind reading or thought reading, there's things that we can pick up from other people non-verbally, and because we're patterned and we're habitual people. And so in my ultimate NLP home study program and my mind design program, things like that, I address some of these issues or some of these abilities that people can actually get very good at. I've trained hostage negotiators and DEA agents and law enforcement and different and attorneys, to be able to make some suggestions based on noticing and observing other people and how they speak, what they speak about, what they do repeated as habitual patterns of behavior, and how you can begin to predict what they might likely do, think, say, or respond in. And so I for many years I traveled around giving those demonstrations as well as in my workshops and programs. So that
I
is
find that to be a very useful tool these days,
it.
especially if you have children,
Well,
teenagers.
it truly
Like,
is. It truly is.
seriously,
And
everywhere people could really use this information, where especially with things changing so quickly. Like if you're going to be looking for a new way of a new career or whatever, that could come in very useful to make decisions where you really want to go.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if you think about it this way, there are times when you're sitting with somebody and you're talking and you have such great rapport that you almost finish each other's sentences. It's because we have this thing called mirror neurons in our brains, and we create this affinity and this rapport with each other. And one of the things that we discovered early on in neurolinguistic programming, which seems to be rediscovered every year by some scientists, is that you can rapport comes about because people actually sync up with each other. When they become like mind, like heart, like
Interesting.
everything, they tend to act and move, at the same rate. It's kind of like if you've ever been, we're all of us are kind of here's a general rule of thumb. We're more similar than we are different. But our differences can be profound in the sense that everybody has a particular rate of speech that they talk at. Some people speak faster, some people speak slower. Some people are more loud, and some people talk more quietly. Same thing with walking. You have a gait, I have a gait. We all walk at different rates. If you've ever walked with, like, had a new relationship where you're holding hands, someone walks faster than the other. One person's like struggling to catch up, and the other person's, or the other person's,
Right.
wanting to, feeling like they have to slow down. When you get to that point where you can just walk together and you're holding
Yes.
hands or you're sitting, that's kind of where that rapport builds. And so there's a process of trust, there's a process of understanding that comes about. And what we discovered is that you can actually do certain things that speed up that process. So if your mindset is right and you behaviorally start to do things, you can create rapport. And parents know this, and teachers know this, and a lot of people understand this, and yet it's amazing how many people miss it. They see it or demonstrate it or take part of it in everyday life, and somehow it still kind of goes over their head. But when you become aware of it is when you can actually interact with it and then make it a useful skill or ability.
Yes, yeah. So that's
Oh,
a very
I don't know if
wonderful
that's how you wanted to
piece of
start the show,
information.
but
No, that's a wonderful piece of information for everyone. And I also want to move into your books. And before we get there, your vision statement, how you have spent all the years of your life here to empower people through your work. That is your goal, helping people have a better life.
Well, it truly is. And the reason for that is when I was a child, I was an actor and a entertainer, and I wanted to be a mystic when I was 6 because I thought I was raised Catholic, and I thought the priest had some kind of special connection with God. And so I convinced my mom to read me all sorts of books that we had, the Bhagavad Gita, Napoleon Hill, and related books. And but the reason I decided that I wanted to help you, I mean, I started teaching magic to children at the YMCA when I was a kid. I got involved with hypnosis when I was 11 because my dentist was a hypnotist who used hypnosis to have people relax so he could do dental work instead of using Novocaine or any kind of medication. And so I asked him to teach me hypnosis, and I started teaching that as a teenager eventually. But I had a number of crises in my life that really pulled the carpet out from under me. I nearly died. I tried to kill myself at one point. I mean, all sorts of stuff. And what I discovered that had transformed me so much, I was like, I have to share this. I just felt that I had a mission to be able to share this with people and help people. And I started teaching it. I'm a meditator, and I would teach meditation and teach what I discovered and share that. And then the neurolinguistic programming and I mean, all of it. But I really found that so many of us either suffer or we live an okay life, but that's not why we're here. We're here to thrive. I mean, our prime directive in the universe is to live and to live fully and to replicate. The brain has just really 2 things that it does. One is to keep you alive, so it looks for danger in the world.
Right.
And it scans it. It does it very simply. The brain works on on the law of a conservation of energy and of least effort. It doesn't want you to struggle. It's not there to make you work extra hard or take massive action or suffer or do all these things in order to get ahead.
Right.
Napoleon Hill wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. He didn't say struggle and grow rich. He didn't say work hard and grow rich. He didn't say effort and grow rich or take massive action and grow rich. He didn't say all of the things that so many of the current self-help gurus say,
Right.
and or put you through. And part of that is because the so-called self-help gurus are still operating from the conditioning that we get when we were kids.
Yes.
And that is,
Yes.
you're never good enough. You must work on yourself. You got to struggle really hard. You got to get a job. You got to work for so many years, that kind of thing. You're going to have to sacrifice. You may not be able to afford it, but if you do all these things, then maybe you can. And it's based on, if you want it bad enough, you'll do everything that you have to do in order to have what you want so that you can be something better or have a better life. And that's really backwards to the way the universe works. It's be it first. And if you are it, then you do and think and act and speak from that being, so that that doing brings about that having. So it's about taking right action based on what your mindset, what your attitude, what your heart, and who you are is all about.
Yes.
And so that what the brain does is it looks for danger.
Yes.
That's one of our evolutionary things, and it's a good thing. And people call it a negativity bias. And we don't have a negativity bias. We aren't looking for negative things. We have a survival bias.
Right.
And this is what people always get wrong. They say, well, it's a negative, or this is negative, or that is, it's not. It's looking for things that might threaten your ability to remain alive on the planet.
Exactly.
That's one of the brain's functions. The other thing is to have you thrive so that you reproduce, or have sex, in other words, so that you reproduce, so that the species carries on, so that your seed continues. So you're really protected in the one hand by your brain from danger, and then directed to thrive. And what conditioning has done is it gets you to focus on all the reasons why you need to survive, but not thrive. And where I came into my power as a young person, I was in my 20s, is I realized, whether you believe it or not, the Garden of Eden story, I took as a metaphor, as an allegory. I said,
yes,
according to this story, God created people, put them in this garden, and said, you got everything you could ever want, and there's only one thing you shouldn't do. You have a choice. There's a tree of knowledge of good and evil, and there's a tree of life, and you got a choice. And they chose the tree of knowledge of good and evil. What did they choose? They chose information over life.
Right.
Now, whether that historically happened or not doesn't even matter. The point being is, they get booted out of the garden. It says, okay, now you get to know pain and suffering and difficulty and all these kinds of things, but we were designed to live in this garden.
Right.
And I'm here one time, maybe I'm reincarnated, doesn't matter. My awareness is this life right now.
Exactly.
Even if I remember 100 other lives, this is the life I'm living now. It's the only one I have.
Right.
So what's my life supposed to be like? It's supposed to be in a garden. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be problem, taxes, and death.
Correct.
And yet that's how we've been conditioned, because the society wants us to be good citizens. They want us to be good worker bees. They want to make sure that we march in the velvet rope and don't get out of line. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if you had a society, I had a society, there are rules to live by.
Right.
But they condition the society. And in part of our conditioning, depending on where you are in the universe, they also set you up to compete.
Yes.
So you compete against them for resources, you compete against them for money, you compete against them for time, you compete against them for all these different kinds of things. And it's based on competition. And what I discovered was, you get further faster cooperating with yourself, meaning your head and your heart, your speech and your behaviors need to be aligned and be congruent. And when they are, you operate as one. Okay. And then Jesus and others have said, when 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, in harmony, he'll said, there's a mastermind, in harmony, then you move forward. You have greater energy, you have greater power, you've got greater reach, you've got so if you cooperate together in harmony, you can make great things happen. And it's amazing that here we are in this century, and we're still competing. That's the survival thing. And what's not being promoted is harmony. We could have a glorious, glorious, glorious existence globally if we just said, you know what, we're in it all together. and there's a plenty of everything. Let's figure out how to distribute it. But people want to hoard. There's great disparity of income. There's great disparity of access to resources. There's great disparity of freedoms that some people have, or the way justice is administered in different places, and whether you're black or white or brown or yellow,
Right.
whether you're male or female or trans or bi or gay, whether you're Republican or Democrat or independent or Catholic or Protestant or Jew or Muslim, whatever it might be, we get categorized. And that's
Right.
what the humans do. We look at all the different kinds of insects in the world and we categorize them and we classify them, and we do that with trees and we do that with people, pretty much so that, one, we can understand them, but also two, so we can control it.
True. But have you noticed, I've been noticing that now we're starting into a whole new decade.
Yes.
I also do feng shui, so we're into a
Yes.
whole new period cycle, another 20-year cycle. And this cycle is all about where we learn to work together and to leave behind the ways that really weren't working so well.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
everything you just covered, this is the exciting part, and why I just love all of the work you're doing and teaching, because this will guide people. How do you step out of this? The other piece that I picked up from your work, the importance of self-esteem.
Oh,
And
yeah.
how many of us, since we were little ones, be quiet, stop talking, children are seen, not heard. You go to school, don't imagine. Anyway, all we heard was no, 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 back to the negatives. So, taking and shifting it now and building your self-esteem. So, each and every, because I personally feel everybody is unique. Everybody is very special, and everybody's needed. We're all like little pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. And we learn to work together, magic can happen, or what people
Well,
think
I
is
agree.
magic.
I absolutely agree with everything that you said. And I think we're living in very exciting times. And
Yes.
I, for one, think that COVID was a blessing. I think that everything is a blessing. The
Yes.
people look at, and again, this goes back to a negativity bias and the kind of conditioning we have. Everything that happens, I wouldn't know you, for example, had I not had the tragedies and the troubles and the problems in my life, because that caused me to make different decisions. And who would have thought that back then, many years later, I'd be meeting you? But I did as a result of that. I have children as a result of that, and so what it took me at the time to say, okay, I'm in paradise, but paradise, doesn't mean necessarily an absence of trouble. What trouble is it's like, we use the analogy that there's an alert on your dashboard.
Yes.
Your oil light comes on so you can
Yes.
attend to something. Your alarm clock goes off in the morning to wake you up.
Mhm.
When I always look at it, as instead of saying things are challenges, obstacles, problems, or troubles, just think of them as opportunities. They're an
Right.
opportunity. So you never know what's going to come about as a result of what's happening. And and people have to overcome their conditioning to think otherwise, of course.
Right.
And what you said about self-esteem. So we're on the precipice of so many incredible changes. And I think that all of the turbulence that's going on right now, and what you see happening with young people, and this notion of woke versus not woke, and all these different kinds of things that are going on, is my analogy is this: when I lived in Los Angeles, I would go put the tea kettle on, and the whistle broke. So I would just put the tea kettle on the stove, and I would go in the living room and I'd sit there, and a few minutes later, I'd hear this noisy, boiling water, and I would run into the kitchen, and the water hadn't boiled yet. And I was like, what the heck? And so I'd go back in the living room, and I did this. It took me years to figure this out. But water is noisier before it boils.
Yes.
When it gets to 212 degrees and steam is released, it quiets down and goes into a slower rolling boil. Prior to that, all the atoms are bunching up against each other, generating heat so that it gets ready for this transformation. So it gets really noisy, but when the transformation occurs, it quiets down. So it took me a long time to go, okay, now the water's getting ready to boil. And then when it got quiet, I'd go in the kitchen.
Yes. It was ready.
It took me years. It took me years to figure that out. And I kid you not. And that's the way it is with people. We get the same message over and over. We get the same opportunity over and over and over again. And sometimes everything is very turbulent, and that's good.
Yes.
If you understand that. And that's why my tagline is celebrate everything. If you celebrate everything, it takes all the sting out of it. It's like, if you can laugh at everything, there's nothing that's a problem. And some
Exactly.
people are able to do that, and some people have nothing. They live in the dirt, they live in, they have nothing, and they're
Right.
deliriously happy, and they have wonderful relationships with their family, and they do whatever they do. They drag water for miles or whatever, and they live a full and rich and fulfilled life, while other people, and I get called into millionaire and billionaire homes all the time, and they go, look at what I have, look at my jets, look at my yachts, look at my cars, look at my clothes,
Right.
look at my wall, and they're miserable.
Right.
And they go, I have all this, but I'm lonely and I'm empty. Yeah, because they
Yes.
think things are going to make the difference, and it's not. It's who you are. It's the esteem you have. It's the love you have for yourself, how heart-centered you are, how you care about yourself, how you value yourself, how you love yourself. And here's one thing that so many people do, is that they go, I was wounded as a child. I was abused as a teenager. I was, in a bad situation here. And they drag this stuff around forever with them.
Right.
So I've been a survivor of this for 50 years. Well, you know what? You could have let it go anywhere along
Right.
the time. But maybe it took you 50 years, like it took me years, to figure out that the water quieted down. Anytime you discover that awareness, you can change. So if you carried something for 5 years or 10 years or 50 years, you can drop it, you can let it go, you can release it. My purpose has been to help people to alleviate suffering, to eliminate suffering, to understand that change can be simple and easy, and that most people have a gap. They're here and they want to be here, and they don't know how to get there. And I want to bridge that gap so that you can do it. And it's easier than people think. And they set themselves up to fail all the time. They go, well, first you have to get rid of all your negative beliefs, or you have to make this change, or you have to work really hard. And those are the very beliefs that need to be changed if they're going to change them. You don't have to get rid of all of your negative beliefs. You couldn't if you wanted to. You don't have to change yourself and overhaul yourself and work really hard and all that kind of stuff. But what you can do is a few simple things that, if you understand them, making one minor change can bring you incredible change or other change. You hear my dogs, that's them playing.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love it. Dogs are
I'm glad
family.
they're playing. I'm glad they're having a good time playing out there.
Yes.
And but a little bit of change can bring about a great amount of change. So I have two statements, and I'll be quiet. But the thing is, you hear this thing: the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and I agree, but disagree.
I agree.
It actually starts. The first step of the journey of 1,000 miles begins here, and that's the decision to take the step on the ground. So the first step is the thought, I'm going to go on this journey. The second step is actually taking the steps. Now, here's the thing. The journey of 1,000 miles means that there's a destination 1,000 miles away. Well, you may never get 1,000 miles away. You might, but you might not. We could die. We could be interrupted. We could change our mind. We could do anything in the interim. So you may not get to your destination. So the only thing you have is the journey. And the only journey that you have is where you're stepping right now. Because that step tomorrow, I'm going to say something that's very sad, but very beautiful. Recently, an actor, Lance Reddick, passed away. He passed away last week. Lance in a lot of movies. The day before he passed away, he had posted how happy he was with his dogs, and he had pictures with his dogs, and he posted a video of him going do and walking along. Very happy, marvelously talented actor. Next morning, in the early AM hours, he was gone.
That's powerful.
It is powerful, and it's so disappointing. I loved him. His movie, the new John Wick movie, opens today. He died a week ago. Today, the movie would open. He's in the movie. He's done all 4 movies. He's gone.
Oh my goodness! But he left a legacy through his.
Well, he did leave a legacy, and this is
his posting.
And his postings were upbeat and happy and demonstrating the kind of person that he is and or was. And my point in that is that we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know when the end time comes. So, and I'm not trying to scare people, because some people, but what I'm trying to say is, so celebrate now.
Yes. Enjoy every moment now.
It's the only time you have, and if you're spending now worried about the past or regretting the past or hating the past, or you're worried about the future or whatever, you're missing that where you are right now. And you have to love yourself enough to enjoy the present without going, if you ask somebody how you're doing, do they say, I'm fine right now? Or do they go, well, this morning this thing happened, or tomorrow I've got this thing coming? And a lot of people go anywhere but to here and now.
Exactly.
And so I want
Exactly.
to help people be here and now so that they can live full, live free, live vibrantly, and fulfill their prime directive, so that if they do have a mission to help other people or to accomplish certain things in life, they can do that. And it doesn't require all of the crap that a lot of people tell you that it requires. And that's why I wrote the book, Life on Your
Beautiful.
Terms. You live life on your terms, you create the life that you want. And there's a simple, fast, easy way to begin to do that little by little.
Beautiful. Beautiful pearls of wisdom. I do want to call our audience's attention to that again. And because so many people, for so many years, we were told, past and future, but really what you said, only the now. And I read a piece somewhere that said, that's why it's called the presence. It's a present.
It's a gift.
Today is a gift, and enjoy every moment. And as I noticed, you were indicating your heart. And this is really one of the best places to live from, I have found, and be in the moment and just say, okay, what's going on, and make a game out of it, right? But thank you for sharing these pearls of wisdoms. And I really hope our viewers have an opportunity to go find your book. It's on Amazon, right?
They can get it on Amazon, but they can also, if you look, you see rexsikes.com. If they go to my website, Bailey, come here. If they go to my website, she's trying to get the other girl to go out and play. They can go and they can get the link to the book to Amazon there. But if they get their receipt code, Bailey, if they get the receipt code from Amazon and come back to my website, I will gift them a $497 training on mastery, on learning how to live from your mind, to master your thoughts, your feelings, your speech, and your behavior, so that you get the results that you want at no charge. So they get the book for $20 or $30, whatever the soft or hardcover, and they come back and they can get a $500, essentially a $500 training as my gift to them to help them. They can also get my newsletter, which will give them tips and suggestions and practices and principles and different things as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this work, Rex. Thank you for living it out every day. You are a person who walks the walk, and you're sharing it. So again, I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule.
I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome, and may you have a wonderful day. And again, folks, you can go to rexsikes.com and also Amazing Rex. Thank you again, and enjoy Bailey.
Bailey and Sasha, they're a true delight, and celebrate everything. Everybody have a fabulous one. And Roberta, you're such a marvelous and welcoming and positive host. I love it. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much. And take care, folks. And we will see you next with another host. Thank you. Take care, Rex. I'm running into difficulties with this mouse. I've got to get it to stop recording. Rex, well, he can edit this out. That was wonderful. Thank you so very much. And I truly do feel you are going to shift so many people's world with your information.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you. Again, it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you. And I'm so glad that we were connected. This is awesome.
Yes. It was perfect. Lindsay was right. You are,
even though you're not living in Illinois anymore.
Yeah, I bailed.
Now that you're in Austin, I'll have to next time I'm in Austin, we'll have to have coffee.
Yes, that would be great. We have a new film studio opening here.
Oh, I didn't know. Well,
there's quite a few.
You do incredible stuff down there all the time. Yeah. We've got a few opening back up. They are opening another one in Illinois now.
Oh, okay.
Originally, there's Oprah's studio, and then she left and went out to LA and took up residence at what used to be Sam Goldwyn's studio. And they built a massive studio on top of what was there, called Cineplex now, I think is what it's called. And they keep adding on and building. So they've got 4 or 5 Dick Wolf shows, Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Men, Chicago Law, Chicago,
Right.
And a great show. If you haven't seen it, it's called The Bear. And I don't remember what it's on. It's on Netflix or Amazon or something. It's called The Bear. It's about a restaurant in Chicago.
Oh,
And the
okay.
guy, when the owner of the restaurant dies of drug addiction and leaves it to his brother who comes into the restaurant, and
Oh,
they just won all sorts of awards. Because I'm a screen actor and the actors
right.
they send all this stuff. So I just watched it, and the first season, I was like, wow. I think it was 10 or 12 episodes or something, and I loved the show. Very, very wonderful show, Chicago flavor, the whole thing.
I'll have to catch that. I love those shows. Wonderful. Thanks for letting me know. And I will have to send you the information. The owner is Chiz. He has
The-
studios in LA. He just opened a big studio here, literally down the
oh,
road from me,
uh-huh.
around the corner, basically.
Wow.
Hidden in the back, we didn't know. Big, huge movie production. And then they're building even more a little bit further to the east in Bastrop County.
Wow. Wow.
So you will have to come down here. I'm sure you may find some very interesting parts.
Oh, it would be
To,
wonderful. I know it's so amazing. Back in 2006 through 2009, everything was focused on Wisconsin. And then
yes,
Wisconsin imploded. It blew the whole thing up and kicked everybody out and didn't make anything happen.
right.
So, between being between LA and Wisconsin, I was like, well, this is fantastic because I don't have, if I can't, I go back and forth, it's great, but they're going to have work in my backyard. And then it didn't happen. And so
Oh,
New Mexico and to Atlanta and to Texas and, some of it went to the East Coast, everything went to Michigan for a while and, differently. Still not happening here. But the fact that it's happening everywhere else is interesting. I mean, it really, truly is interesting, although it's different than it used to be in the 70s when, I was 70s and 80s. I could live in LA and work anywhere. Now they want you to be a resident of the state that you work in. So
oh,
so for me to work in North Carolina when the stuff was going on, I would had to be a Charlotte resident. They want everybody to be local, hires actors and crew and everything. So even in Illinois, technically, if I want to work in Illinois, I can go down as an actor and work in a show like once or twice. But if I were to work as crew, they want to know that I have a Illinois resident.
I'm not so sure that's true in Texas.
It may
I'll
or may
have to
not
check
be.
into that.
It depends on one, if it's the right to work state and things like that. But it also depends on how they regulate things. So I don't
Well,
know
I know
if
they want to grow it, so maybe
right. But I
they
know
aren't
Atlanta
doing
is
that
like
yet.
that. Atlanta is like that. There are people,
Mhm.
if you want to work in Atlanta, you need, or you need, but I have a friend who goes back, he lives in Texas and he works in Atlanta a lot. So he goes back and forth. And
Fun, fun. Well,
anyway,
again,
this is
thank
exciting.
you.
You live in an exciting part of the world.
Yeah, it just kind of happened all of a sudden. Thank